I said, it's too cold for a board.
All right, at 6:30, we call the meeting to order. Thank you all for being here. I see you're huddled together for warmth out there tonight.
Share. We all need hot something.
We have a quorum with Dr. Harrell being absent. This time we'll have a discussion of November 15th regular board meeting agenda items. Dr. Randall.
Mr. President, the first item is that we ask the Board of Trustees to approve the 2019-20 student course selection catalog, and you have the catalog provided for you at your desk, and staff will answer any questions if you have any.
Any questions, comments? Yes, ma'am.
You go ahead. Well, first of all, this is amazing. I said it reads like you're really going off to college. I guess that one of my concerns, and I'm sure you've thought about it too, there's so many wonderful courses in here, being able to put them on all the campuses, or do we have a game plan when they don't make it one school, but there's students that wish to take it?
We always have those concerns when it comes to offering courses and looking at number of students that possibly could enroll. We work with the campuses and the campus counselors to determine, looking ahead to see, would we have students who are interested in those courses? And so we're always in works with the campuses to determine would they have the numbers to make those, and trying to make those adjustments, because we want equity across the district doing that.
But I mean, go ahead.
And while it can be a bit of a challenge, the campuses still work together to try to, if they can't get enough on one campus, to take and share those instructors.
Because I would hate for a student to really be excited about a course and then they tell them at
Very
the last
much so.
minute they can't
Yeah.
take that course.
Catherine, yeah.
Kind of ran right into that. There's a course on page 59 and then a page 64, Human Growth and Development. And then on page 64, it's that's Human Services. The other one is Education and Training. When I'm reading this, it sounds like it's going in together, and it's relating to a possibility of getting a CDA credential. And I'm wondering, what is the difference between those two courses? Because right now, my understanding is these particular courses are not being filled at some of the schools.
So the courses are CTE courses. The courses on page 59. The Human Growth and Development course, and then is the one you're referring to, 7410C?
That's 7410C.
Okay, and it's listed there on page 59. It's also listed on page 64 because it falls into both of those course clusters. So on page 59, you're looking at it as part of the Education and Child Services cluster of courses. And if you look on page 64, it's listed almost to the bottom of that second column, 7410C, Human Growth and Development, because it also falls in the Human Services cluster. And so it's one course on both of those clusters.
Okay. The one on page 64, right above it, the 7850W. The reason I'm interested in this is because we have some students that actually come to our facility.
Yes, ma'am.
And some go to the school campuses, but they're decreasing. It used to be all the high schools, and now it's down to one high school. And so when I was reading this and saw that they could work toward their CDA, they don't know that.
And this is a course stream that we're working on developing in more detail. So it's part of the Grow Your Own grant that we received back in the spring from TEA. Teachers that are certified to teach these courses, we're working with them to build their dual certification so they can teach dual credit courses. And so this is an area that's you'll see expanding, I think, over the next couple of years. Joel, our director of CTE, has been working to develop student chapters on each campus of the student organization that builds this group of students so that we see more students. The goal for the state is to increase our teacher population and starting in the high schools. So this is an area that I think you'll see grow with time.
Well, it just, I know from in the past, it was very big, and then it started diminishing and diminishing.
You're right.
And I was getting very concerned this year because we have a shortage of teachers, and this is where it gets started.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
in the community, you have a lot of people that could help them in that area too, even while they're going to school.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
when I was reading both, I wasn't quite understanding this.
Yeah, and it's listed in both places because of the way that the courses fall and what the student is choosing to focus their attention on. The 7850W that you mentioned is the practicum, so that's the course you mentioned where they're either in the schools or they're in a work environment earning that credit for that course. And then the human growth and development course that's on page 60 is the lead-up course to that.
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to hold you to that CDA
Absolutely.
credential. Because
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
It's an awesome
We agree.
thing for the young girls,
Yes,
and the
ma'am.
boys too.
Absolutely. We have lots that are
I
interested.
do have one more question. Do the principals do they make the choice whether this will be introduced into their schools, or is it just strictly by how many students want to sign up for the courses?
We encourage all courses, to be encouraged by the administrators on all campuses. So it's not a principal's option to offer things or not offer them. Demand for courses may vary by campus, but students are exposed to all of the options on every campus.
So-
And as Dr. Randall mentioned, if a course doesn't make on one campus, then it's very possible that those students will have an opportunity to take it on another campus.
Okay, so they would be, that's something you'll be looking into?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That happens now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep.
Quick question, why was government and public administration dropped?
The course itself, government was not, but the course stream,
Okay.
we just don't have, or the cluster that you're seeing, we
Okay.
just don't have the student enrollment to support it.
I have a question. On page 75, with programs for students with significant cognitive disabilities, and it's highlighted with significant cognitive disabilities, does that mean that we're now going to mainstream some of these kids into the classes some other kids with disabilities we're having, or
It's just
why is that an emphasis, I guess, is what I'm asking?
it's a change in the language from the state.
Oh,
So
okay.
it's just the wording, the way that the state's describing courses.
So those courses were already offered?
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing really changed?
You'll
Okay.
see, if you look back in previous years, the course titles and course
Okay.
numbers haven't changed.
Thank you.
That's what it said on the little.
How about the human resource management? Did they see what Dr. Bourne has to do and said they don't want to get involved in that?
That's right. As we look at the state accountability system and what credentials the state is accepting as college and career ready, we're streamlining our course offerings in those CT clusters to make sure we're maximizing our resources and offering things that students can earn certifications or
right.
endorsements in.
All right, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Any other questions?
I have a comment. Great socks, by the way. I'm not.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Socks match the tie.
And where does that fall in?
I'm not really sure.
Which course?
It's the cold weather.
There you go.
Louis Roberts is out of order.
Strike that.
Anybody's watching?
The next item, we're asking the board to approve, we're asking the board to approve the district instructional materials adoption committee. This is something that is done each year, and the board is asked to approve that committee. Or each adoption, I'm sorry. The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to consider approval of budget amendment request. Next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to ratify the financial and investment reports. The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to ratify donations to the district. The next item, we ask the board to approve a revision to board policy GE local specifying relations with parent organizations, and the revised GE local gives further guidance in the area of purchasing, formation of parent organizations, fundraising connections between district and parent organizations, and the role district employees may function within parent organizations. That's a whole lot to say that we are trying to provide some guidance in that area and strengthen some of the requirements.
I was just going to say my compliments on this. This was really needed, son.
And this is,
Thank you.
and this is being proactive, or are we noticing some discrepancies from campus to campus?
There's no discrepancies. It was really proactive
Good.
in an attempt to ensure that we're closing some of the loopholes, gaps, and just making sure everyone knows what is supposed to be done.
And it's out there for everybody.
Yes, ma'am.
A little offshoot from the audit too, they, pointed out there's a couple
Right.
$1 million worth of monies that
Right.
maybe not as tightly managed as we'd like to see it. So.
Okay.
Are
So,
all of the schools, they all are going to follow these rules, and their organizations are all going to kind of be the same?
I can't say the same, but they'll have the regulations that we have in board policy, federal, state regulations, rules, those have to be followed by those organizations.
and how is that dispensed to them? Are they brought in, or the head of it, or is the principal in charge? I mean,
Yes, so
because
I
some of
have.
this is different from
Very much
before.
so. And so with the manual that you have on your desk that I'll be going through tonight as well, I'll talk about the rollout of the Affiliated Community Organizations Manual and how this is going to be communicated to all campuses and principals, and then also all of the organizations, PTAs, PTOs, and booster clubs.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Excellent.
Consider approval of geotechnical study for the trailer stadium track replacement. And we're asking the board to approve Terracon for the geotechnical study in the amount of $3,500. Next item, that we ask the board to approve Terracon for the geotechnical study for Foster High School track and synthetic turf project in the amount of $3,200. The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to approve Terracon for the geotechnical study for the Fulshire High School synthetic turf project in the amount of $2,800. The next item, we ask the Board of Trustees to approve Terracon for the geotechnical study for the George Ranch High School synthetic turf project in the amount of $2,800. The next item, we ask the board to approve Terracon for the geotechnical study for Terry High School synthetic turf project in the amount of $2,900. The next item, we ask the board to approve Terracon for the geotechnical study for high school number 6 and junior high school number 6 in the amount of $70,900. Next item, we ask the board to approve Charlie Calcomie surveying A. Jones and Carter Company for professional topography surveying service for the synthetic turf project at Fulshire High School in the amount of $3,500. The next item, we're asking the board to approve Calcomie for the synthetic turf project at Foster High School in the amount of $7,300.
Ask a question, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Why do we need a survey to apply new turf on a already existing?
Well, I'll let Kevin.
Well, the synthetic turf project, you have to build down, and there's a drainage system that you have to build underneath it.
Oh,
And so the survey brings in all of the underground services, that drainages that you have to connect to.
So it's not necessarily surveying the land from one corner to the other, it's underneath the land?
It's the whole thing, topography, how high the land is,
Oh,
where
okay.
the things are at.
Thank you, that's what I wanted. Thank you.
The next item, we're asking the board to approve Calcomie surveying for George Ranch High School in the amount of $3,500. The next item, we're asking the board to approve Calcomie for the surveying services for the synthetic turf at Terry High School for $3,500. The next item, we're asking the board to approve PBK Sports for the design of the Lamar Consolidated High School Complex project. And we're asking for the next item that Huckabee be approved for the renovation projects at Westendorf, Navarro, Campbell, and Williams Elementary School.
Quick question, how do we select Huckabee? I know when we RFQ'd our architects, they were like tied for number 2.
Yeah,
Right.
You just spreading the sunshine around here?
Yes, sir. We
Okay.
had-
'cause that's what I wondered.
You had number 1 was VLK, PBK, and number 3 was Huckabee. And so we looked at all the firms, and Huckabee is the one that we selected to bring in and kind of spread things out, yes, sir.
Okay.
I didn't know if maybe they were more of an expertise in what we were asking of this project.
They're all pretty good at it, so
Just wondering.
they were the next one in line, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ask that the board authorize the administration to utilize competitive sale proposals as a contract construction method of procurement with the evaluation criteria for the 2017 bond project. Next item, we ask the board to approve the deductive change order number 1 in the amount of $2,525 and final payment of $82,475 to Payton Corporation for the construction of the Wilshire High School water plant. Foster High School water plant. Thank you. That the board approve the deductive change order number 1 in the amount of $3,595 and final payment of $40,082.80 to Alley Roofing Services for the construction of Austin Elementary roof replacement. Next item, we ask the board to approve Charlie Calcomie surveying and planning services for Tamaron Elementary School in the amount of $21,300. That the board, the next item is that we ask the trustees to approve CenterPoint Energy gas development fees for Culver Elementary School and approve the payment in the amount of $8,240. The next item, we ask the trustees to approve the final deductive change order in the amount of $16,000 and final payment in the amount of $1,395.40 to Jamel and Smith Construction for the Lamar Consolidated High School Band Edition and $1,161.60 for the Terry High School Band Edition.
Nice recovery on that project, those projects.
They got finished correctly.
Next item, we ask the trustees to approve the deductive change order number 1 in the amount of $24,513 and final payment of $69,659.35 to Dramala Construction Company for the Fulshire High School shelf space.
I'd just like to comment on all these deducts. We're getting down here to the end of these. That tells me somebody's paying close attention to what's going on. I appreciate that. You know, those amounts of money could very easily slip through the cracks, but it shows that y'all are really working this and paying attention to what's going on. Thank you.
The next item is approve Huckabee for the child nutrition new cooler, freezer, and surveying line renovations. The next item is approve change order number 1 and the addition of 18 days due to Hurricane Harvey and final payment in the amount of $1,257,757.50. It's getting late.
The money that's listed here.
To Dramala for the construction of Carter Elementary School. The next item, we're asking the Board of Trustees to approve the ranking of construction manager at agent firms and authorize the superintendent to begin contract negotiation for a construction manager agent services for the 2017 bond program. And you were provided some additional information at your table.
Everybody good?
All right.
Roll on.
We're asking the trustees to approve the appraisers who have recently become certified or are new to Lamar CISD, and we have 2 administrators that meet their requirements.
All right.
Mr. President, those are all the action items.
Do we have anybody from the audience page that would like to comment on any of those?
There are none.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'd like to back up quickly.
All right.
If you don't mind.
Sure.
Course selection.
All right.
Can we offer the wildlife management class in the agriculture program? I know Dr. Randall and I have had some information trading back and forth on this.
So the wildlife management course, we did look at that course. We have to make decisions on relevancy to CCMR, how does it connect to accountability, and then needs and wants. I know that we discussed having some of those courses. We have to find certified instructors, which we would currently do not have at any of our high schools. We have to find those people because we would have to look outside then to find educators who are certified to cover those courses. That's the biggest concern as of right now. Do we have any CTE teachers currently certified to teach that course?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Well, one of the other areas also is the liability piece that comes into play with that, and we were still trying to work through some of those. That's one of the reasons why it's not considered in here, and we come back to the board as a separate proposal once we were able to get those pieces worked out. But the liability is something that the district cannot well, even the liability on the part of the students and the parents taking the course is an issue that we've been trying to work through as well. And we've been working with TASB and trying to get some feedback back on how would that be done, and as well as talking to some of the neighboring school districts about that. That was one of the other things added to what.
Because I know, of course, all the rural districts around us offer that course, but I think Katy does as well.
I'm not 100% sure about that. I don't know. But Katie offers it or not. I don't know. Sure. Yeah. I can find out quickly.
Well, again,
I know the need is, I know the want is there.
Yeah.
So what started all this was actually my own child has gotten involved in sport shooting. And part of that, to be part of that program under the state, in order to receive scholarship money for that, which if you attend any of the, like Houston Livestock Show, I think the scholarship money could range up to $20,000. And then there's some colleges that offer partial and full rides, if you do well. But to be able to receive any of that money, you have to be part of this, under this guideline or course.
Yeah, under UIL.
Through UIL. Mm-hmm. And you can do it as individuals or as, like, I guess, a club. But for the kids that could could fund their college by this, and I know I've talked to the teachers through Neatville, East Bernard, both of those districts, and then I was told that Katy is actually offering it now as well. So, you know, I know I've had at least 15 parents just at Foster, just through me asking questions and my son overhearing it and then talking to his classmates. The parents have come back, circled back, and approached me that there is an interest.
Okay.
You know, and I think if we could find a way to do this, I mean, you're talking about, you know, children. I mean, you know, they may not have interest in any other kind of sports, but if they can fund their college through this, I think it's worth it.
Okay.
So if you find out.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
If it's a club, could they achieve the same goal through a club that they would a class? So they can't receive scholarships?
To attend any of the big scholarship shoots, like through San Antonio Livestock Show or Houston, you have to be enrolled in that class.
Okay.
And be part of that through, you know, through UIL and everything else. You can't, as an outside entity or club, attend those contests and receive those winnings for scholarship funding.
Thanks, Joe. All right, information items. Dr. Maxwell, do you have any further comments on the community organization manual? I believe
I
you
do. Thank you. President Steenbergen, board members, and Dr. Randall. I'm going to kind of go through quickly the Lamar CISD Affiliated Community Organizations Manual. We called it that, which encompasses all of our PTAs, PTOs, and booster clubs. The reason why we did this, the purpose behind it, was really to assist all of our organizations, the affiliated organizations, the PTAs, PTOs, and booster clubs, in meeting certain requirements, whether that's the district regulations, board policy, the UIL requirements, state requirements or regulations, and federal requirements. But what's also in here, too, is we included best practices. Really as a safeguard for people who are wanting to become members of these organizations and safeguards for the schools and the districts themselves. These best practices allow the members to go through everything to ensure that they're following all of the procedures and also doing what is best to ensure what they're doing is collecting the information, funds, and supporting that group of students. I had a wonderful group of committee members who really came forward and helped put this together. The Director of Athletics, the Director of Career and Technology, or Career and Technical Education, if I can speak, Director of Finance, Director of Performing and Visual Arts, and Executive Director of Student Programs. We also sent this manual out in draft form to get feedback. We really wanted people to take it apart, look through it to ensure, did it make sense? Was it easy to read, accessible, those types of things. We had 5 principals look it over and provide feedback, and we also had 4 current PTA, PTO, or booster club members go through this and give us feedback as well. So inside of it, if you go through, there is an index in the front, but it really includes many things to support all of these organizations. Checklists, laws that come from the federal level and the state, policies that come directly from our board, which includes that updated version of that policy, if approved, and then suggestions, best practices, and examples. Because what we heard from feedback from members is that when they come into an officer's role, they get a binder maybe handed to them and they really don't know specifically what they're supposed to do or what is best to do in that new role. So we have all of these things in here, and the really important distinction that we have to make is that Lamar CISD is not an oversight body for these organizations. They're affiliated with us. We really don't have much oversight except for the policy that we have in place. It's still up to the board, the organization's board or president and committee to determine what they do. But we really wanted to set up some guidelines to help them understand best practices so that things don't go awry, so that they can ensure that the funds they raise go to the place they wanted to help, which is students and the school and the district. So this is a pretty robust manual. It has quite a bit of information and material in there. Some of the things that we go through are such as defining what bylaws are, why organizations should have bylaws. How do we go through with who do we contact if we need support, whether they're at the state level, the federal level, or even our district, who do we contact for support as we're going through these things? It connects digitally. We really want to have this in a paper and also online version so they can do hyperlinks and click right to updated board policy, right to websites that they can use to help them go through and make decisions. It really does get into how do I start a new organizations. We have new campuses coming year to year. And so how do these parents' organizations start? How do they go through and create one of these organizations to help out their campuses? Goes into relationships with the school. Really important that they build those relationships with principals, and this manual can also be used by principals to determine how do I work best with these organizations. It really then gets into the technical and legal aspects too of tax exemptions, employer identification numbers, all those, the minutia that you really need to know because it's a lot of legalese and truly understand how do these things work with these organizations. It also goes through and separated into forms of fundraisers. There's a checklist of how do I conduct a fundraiser. We get questions all the time. Are they possible? Can we do it this way? This kind of lays it out of best practices for conducting these fundraisers and how many times of the year should we be doing them? How should the money then be used? How does a organization ensure that that money goes to where they want it to go? All of the financial management, which I think can be very overwhelming for organizations, especially if the treasurer in charge does not have a financial background. One of the recommendations in the manual is if you have someone in that position, they should have some semblance of a financial background. But we also then put forms in there to support them with examples to say this is how you can balance your budgets, this is what you should be looking for, and this is how you do oversight and transparency so everyone knows where the funds go. It also gets into really, we wanted this because we had people contact the district saying, who do we call for this? Who do we call for this, for the support? So we laid it all out in the front section. There's a phone number and email. This is who you contact for this, and they can go right to it just to make it an easy way and informational for any of these organizations going through. So the way we talked a little bit about rollout, how are we going to roll this out to our campuses and to our organizations? As of right now, we have a timeline and a plan to finalize this information by December, have a complete manual finalized and ready to go. Then in this coming semester, we're going to work to create a PowerPoint or a presentation for principals at the secondary level to meet with Booster Club presidents and treasurers so that those people get trained going through the manual so they can see all the updated versions of policy, all the best practices, all the forms that are available, and how to gather those forms to use for their organization. For the PTAs and PTOs, what we're planning on doing is bringing in treasurers and presidents of those organizations in a central location and going through the manual with them with all of the updates. Our plan is to wait until they have the elections for most of their organizations because we want the new people coming in so that they hit the ground running and they can use this information to go through and best serve their affiliated community organization. I know that was really quick. I know this is a large document, but I also want to give thanks to those people who really did step up to the plate and help us with this. Nikki Nelson, Joel Garrett, Michelle Reynolds, Ram Estrada, Nicole Sweeney, Deandra Gomez, and Jackie Ortega. They came together and we have been working on this for approximately 3.5 months of culling through and trying to get the verbiage correct to ensure accuracy and to ensure everything is up to date to match with federal laws and state laws as well. And I'd be happy to take any questions or comments, feedback on this as well.
Well, I think this is something that was sorely needed, and even though we don't have oversight responsibility, performance of these organizations does reflect on us. So,
very much so.
If they do well, it reflects well on us. If they do poorly, it reflects poorly on us. So, terrific job.
Thank you. If they do poorly, it's usually the kids that suffer for it.
Very much so.
I have a question. I'm sorry, I haven't read this. Does the principal have final oversight on what is purchased with funds? That is a question that I've asked.
Yeah.
Previously.
Technically, we don't have any oversight from the district, but what the recommendations is, principals and organizations need to have a close relationship. And they should have these statements to be able to say, look, you want to use your money in this way to help the students, we understand. But from a campus perspective, the money would be better utilized if we could do it this way. And so having that open dialogue and conversations of saying, this would be better to support our students' learning if we use the funds this way, but technically because they're the entity that raised the funds. But that's why we really talk about a close relationship between campus leadership and the organization's leadership.
But we still have to be careful that, if they say playground equipment, it still has to meet the specifications of the district.
Very much so. Technology has to be approved to ensure that it works
Yes.
with all of our entities, and that's also.
So they can't just bring in willy-nilly whatever they want
Yes.
to.
Very much so.
And it has to be something that can be supported by the maintenance people.
Mhm.
So, yeah, they have to work closely with them.
Very close.
I would also agree to Dr. Maxwell and everyone that worked on this. They put a lot of work.
Oh, I can see
into
that.
it,
It just,
And it's certainly going to be able to help to answer some of those questions that when they come up in the future.
because I've had PTOs ask me that just functional kind of questions, how'd you just run this thing?
Yeah.
Well,
And that's in the manual day-to-day
Yes.
of what to do. So, oh, no problem.
terrific, very nice piece of work.
I like it, everybody will be on the same page.
Well, they have the same book, that might not be on the same.
That's true. Well, they have the same beginning, how they
That's right.
end is their problem.
That's right. Okay. Strategic planning, how are those meetings going? Are we getting the kind of results we expected out of those?
Well, he's going to mention the same thing.
Yeah. So we've had 6 meetings so far. We have 4 community meetings left. 2 of them right when we get back from Thanksgiving break, both at Foster and Adolphus. And so there's still some opportunities for folks who haven't been out there. To date, we've had just under 200 participants at those meetings. And then mid-October, we launched the strategic planning survey online. And right now, we are at 9,897 responses with 3 weeks to go on that. And so we should have well over 10,000 responses in terms of feedback on what is important, where the district should make some potential improvements, what are our strengths, where we should be going. And so between the survey data and the focus group information from so far 200 and just a smidge past halfway, we feel like we're in a good spot. And so again, we're getting participation with the Holdsworth Center, and we meet constantly about that. There will be some updates to the board. This is the listening tour portion, and so it will all end in December, and the board will get feedback from the listening tour process in January, and then there's actually going to be a strategic planning committee to take that work and synthesize it just a bit further to give us some actionable plans moving forward before April. But all of that will be outlined in January, so right now we're just finishing up. We want to hear what people are thinking. We want to finish that listening tour, which will wrap up on December 3rd.
And to form the committee, have people been coming up to you saying they'd like to be on the committee?
Yeah, so during the actual meetings, there's an opportunity for folks that are coming to those meetings. If they're interested in signing up, they can. We've taken their information down. But similar to how we do any of the committees in Lamar CISD, we're actually going to launch at the end of this week an online application for consideration process for any individual, whether they're a parent, a staff member, community member, and we'll gather all that in conjunction with the Holdsworth Center to make a committee coming up in January, but we'll have more information on that process in December.
Okay.
That's a good job executing this, too.
Mhm.
I know it's a tough piece of work. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
With Holdsworth, has there ever been any mentioning of just meetings, or 1 or 2 meetings just with teachers, with the actual staffing?
One of the things that we did in terms of the listening tour for our staff is that they actually created a PowerPoint, very similar. Many of you have been out to the meetings, and they actually, the beginning part, they call it like a screencast, and so the Holdsworth folks actually had almost a video. And so what our campuses are doing, and our departments as well, they're holding staff meetings, they're playing that, and then they're going through sticky notes, they're having conversations about what's important, and then when that concludes, we're encouraging everyone to then immediately take the survey once those complete. And so our staff members, whether they're on campuses or departments, we've had several go through that process, and many of them are still scheduling them all the way until the survey closes on December 3rd.
And there's been a lot of staff at these meetings as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
Well, I've had several make comments. It would be really nice just to have the teachers perhaps have a a couple of those listening sessions?
Yes. So each
So
campus and
you're
each
doing
department
that.
will, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, most of the rest of these informational items are the standard stuff. We see any questions on anything up to the board training item? Do you have a report?
And you look at me.
Yes, I am.
I want this manual for board members. Actually, I've not had an actual meeting as far as a committee. Seems like we're all very busy and very working a lot. The main thing, I did talk to Big Mandy a little bit and Melissa very briefly. It was more of having something before the candidates come out. How do we do this? Do we, as a board, have a workshop and invite them to come in? I don't know if that's legally.
My suggestion on that is it's not a board workshop, it's an informal get-together with 3 or fewer board members just to sit down and chat with them. You know, you can have your curriculum for the new board members after they come on, more intensive training than we've ever had before, but they have just go through that list and say, okay, we're going to chat about some of your responsibilities if you're going to step into this position. If you're considering that, here's things that you're going to be exposed to that you don't have a clue about right now. So it would be an informal get-together with 3 or less board members.
And that's where it kind of stops. Is that, Dr. Randall, something that we would need to get together with you and set a date, or have you involved in that?
Well, how do you get that information?
Because this has never
out?
been done before, that I know of any boards have a meeting with the candidates before they're elected.
It definitely would be,
What legal,
I'll have to check on that. And also to see if it's been done anywhere else before, and maybe they've already worked through some of the details of it. There shouldn't be any issue as long as you don't have more than 3 board members for that type of conversation. I would just recommend having some type of formal outline that you are operating from, and not just going in and just opening it up and having a...
Yes, that's what I say. It would be,
Got to stay on.
here
well,
are
that's why,
issues.
I didn't know if y'all had received that list, because I guess I got nominated because I made the list. I'm going to look at all of you guys. So I went ahead and set it up that these are some of the topics that we would like to cover, but not discourage members for coming, come joining us. I honestly don't know, as far as getting us together, getting 3 people and getting it out to the public, that we want to do this.
Well, we don't have to do it to public. Once they declare the candidacy and they're actually in the run, then you just send out an invitation to the
That's what I would
3 or
wait
4
till
or 5 or
Wait,
6 of them.
Which is when?
When does that start? Anything? Usually it's about January or February.
February,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking, was
Last day of
February.
And
And that would be a informal invitation. You'd like to sit down and go through some of the
But see,
potential
that's why I think
responsibilities.
what we
Basically,
need-
this is not through the board, it would be
No.
just
But I just think once we
community.
know that they come to you to get the packet, then you'd have something saying, we have a date set up that if you'd like to hear more about, then, and that would be something she would hand to them at the same time.
Yeah, this is try to inform, this is more than 2 nights a month.
Well, I thought about it too, that, everybody comes here with an agenda. And, they want to get on the board for a reason, but they need to be made aware of, what else do you want to do? That you're responsible for all the students. And maybe by talking to us, they'd have a little bit more understanding.
And then to let them know there's going to be some more formal board member training once you get on there, more than you get at TASB and more than just the orientation they have.
Right.
We're going to get you into some detail, like finance. We're going to do Bond 101 for more than 3 minutes.
The 1 cent versus the 2 cents?
So, basically, I guess for me, it was just talk to you guys, since I can get y'all here. It's a lot easier than having a committee as such, as to what would be the first step. And basically, y'all just said it. Once we find a date,
But I want, my vision is to
then have
set
this
set the
done.
curriculum, set the
But have this
curriculum
done
for
before they-
what the future.
they
You're gonna
start.
Be careful about setting the dates and that type of thing at your workshop.
We're not,
Oh,
we're not
okay.
setting any dates.
And that's why I was kept going legally, but, I don't want to step over anybody's. So it sounds like it needs to be just done.
It's still all squishy right now.
Don't look, you're looking at me like, yes.
That's why I only comment on socks, so I don't get put on a committee.
And
You really don't really want to give them a checklist of this is what, because you don't want them walking out and saying, no, I don't.
No,
Anyway,
it,
when they first get it.
what?
The packet's pretty large anyway when they get it. That's hard.
I think it's more just preparing them a little bit. This can be fun, you've got great people to work with, district is awesome, and you're going to find this out. You may have your own agenda, but you're going to find out a lot that you're going to appreciate after
So I guess, Dr. Randall, just find out what our ins and outs of what we can do, and so that we don't
So,
step where we're not
Yeah,
supposed
the
to.
legality mainly.
All right.
Okay.
get that ready for you.
Proceed.
Thank you very much.
All right. With that, we have completed our review of the agenda items. Anything else to bring before the board? If not, we call this meeting adjourned at 7:15. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.